Hey everybody, welcome to the Overwatch Report. I'm Brian,
I'm Ben.
and this is the very first episode of a new show where each Thursday we'll be breaking down the teams in the Overwatch League, starting off with the expansion teams, then going from worst to first of the teams that competed in Season 1. Ben, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing? I'm ready to talk some Overwatch League.
I'm doing really well, and I'm hyped up to talk about the Overwatch League as well. So, Ben, you are essentially the master when it comes to knowing pretty much everything about the Overwatch League. Whenever I have a question, I go to you. So, what I asked you to do before we started the show was rank these completely new teams from worst to first so we can kind of mirror what we're doing with the teams that competed in Season 1. And you picked the worst expansion team as the Washington Justice. Tell me about that pick.
Yeah, it's a really difficult pick actually to choose. Like this is gonna sound real shady, but it's really hard to decide who the worst teams were because I would say that five of the eight Overwatch expansion teams have the potential to be not super great. So, but
Okay. It's
starting
like
with
it's
the
just a
Justice.
coin flip, really, at this point, for all
starting
we
with the
know.
just starting with the justice though, I think that the issue with the justice, I think I mentioned this to you before, is that last season Boston Uprising and this season with the Toronto Defiant, there's kind of like this Moneyball feeling with their team where they're kind of cherry picking a bunch of like lesser known players and trying to like combine them into like this like magical perfect gumbo that actually
Right.
functions as a productive team. The Uprising came into last season considered by a lot of people to be probably one of the worst teams coming in, and they finished in third place overall in the standings. They
Mm.
made it to fifth and sixth. They had a pretty decent chance of making a run in the playoffs, and they did this all with apparently a ton of drama going on in the background.
Mm.
So this type of team building is possible, and I think this is what the Justice were going for, but I don't trust that they have actually pulled it off.
All right, fair enough. So just to get this out of the way, guys, these are just our opinions. These are hot takes off the presses. If you disagree with them, you can tweet at us at Ben Sharon for Ben. My Twitter is at Real Donald Trump. So any complaints, send them right that way. Um, but yeah, so I guess let's start off with the coach for the Justice. We have Wizard. Oh boy, hey
Wizard
Young,
Young. Yeah.
Wizard Young, formerly a coach for the Excelsior. He is now going to be the inaugural coach of the Washington Justice. Ben, can you tell me a little bit about him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a successful coach. The Excel were one of the best team from season one. They,
Mm,
ended up not making it to the finals, but they were pretty much above and beyond every other team. So he has experience in coaching a successful team, and the most obvious thing coming in with the Justice is the coach-player pairing of Wizard and Janice.
mm,
And so with Janice probably being kind of like the I think he's going to be the captain of the team. I think he's should be the captain of the team. He has the most experience and is probably the best player on the team. So with Janice being in a leadership role as a player and having that prior experience working with Wizard, I think that that'll probably work out very well.
yeah, so I guess let's jump right into that. Let's talk a little bit about Janice, the South Korean player. He is a tank. His signature, this is according to the Overwatch League wiki. So any problems with that, take it up with them. Or just tweet at Donald Trump. His signature players are Winston and Reinhardt, and like you said, he is formerly of the New York Excelsior. What kind of brought him to this expansion team? You said obviously the coach, but can you kind of give us a little bit of a background on that?
Yeah, I mean, coming from the New York Excelsior, I mean, he wasn't, I would say, one of the star players from the Excelsior. He's probably like the fifth or sixth most like biggest name from the team. I believe he was dropped by the Excelsior, and they picked up other players recently to make up for that. But yeah, he's a solid player. Like I said, I think he's going to be the best player on the team, pretty much by like a huge margin. I think that he has a lot of opportunities to shine as a leader here, but I'm not convinced that he alone is somebody who can really carry a team, which is why I have the Justice ranked so low as a team right now.
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly fair. Oh, goodness. Like you said before we started the show, some of these gamer tags are not easy to pronounce. So, I'm just going to butcher it. I like to think of myself as the audience surrogate if the audience has no idea about anything outside of the finals from last year that we went to. So we have Physis. Physis. Oof. Okay, he's an American player. He is a support, and his signature heroes are Ana and Zenyatta. Let's talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, so Physis previously played on NRG, which is a contenders team in North America. They are a pretty good contenders team. They're probably maybe second or third best contenders team right now. But Physis was not particularly like a star on that team. It's hard for a support player to be a star in a lot of cases. So maybe I'm just like hypnotized by like flashy DPS play, but in the times that I watched him play, the times that I watched NRG play, it seemed like Rascal and Poise were more of the stars of that team and kind of carried them to the success that they've had. Also, he mostly plays Zenyatta from what I can tell, but he has recently played a little bit of Lucio. Okay. And Lucio is a pretty heavily played character recently in the standard GOATS comp, so it's good that he has that experience, but he's not a particularly like flashy player. He's not really like a standout in any way. It's kind of what this team in general is. It's like a lot of kind of under the radar, less well-known players that are being put together. And we're going to talk later on about Hyonu, who I think that Physis is better than, and so that would make him the second most, or the second best, or the second most experienced support player on the team, which means they're probably expecting him to see a lot of play, especially with his experience playing Lucio. But I don't really see him being a very active player in the success of the team, I guess.
Right. Well, I guess let's jump into our other support. He actually had no signature heroes listed on the Overwatch League. So can you jump a little bit and talk about him?
Into Hyuno or Gido?
Hyuno.
Hyuno.
Yeah, man, that is his name.
Because there's also Gido, who is a flex player, but who mostly plays support. He played on the Seoul Dynasty last season.
All right.
But we can talk about Hyuno totally. It'll be pretty short.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, no signature heroes listed.
Well, that's because he hasn't really, from what I can tell, played competitive Overwatch in 6 months.
Okay. Weird choice to have him on the team.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that.
He was on World Game Star H2, which, from my understanding, has kind of just fallen apart as a team. They played a little bit in Korean contenders. They were not good. Before then, he was on Metabellum, and we'll talk a lot about Metabellum in the second half of our discussion today. Metabellum is is a decent team, but from what I can tell, he played mostly Mercy, and mostly Mercy before the Mercy nerf happened in late July, because like I said, this was 6 months ago. So he mostly played. Most recently played like heavy competitive Overwatch in June, July. So
Right.
I don't know whether he has competitive other support heroes since the changes have come through on Mercy. So I see him really fulfilling a role in the team, honestly.
Yeah, and as pretty much everybody knows, they just love to nerf Mercy.
Yeah.
It's just their favorite thing to do. So this is kind of a weird pick, I feel like, for him to be a part of this if he hasn't been playing competitive. I guess it's that Moneyball stuff that I don't understand.
I mean, there are. We won't talk about the Chengdu Hunters this week, but we'll probably be talking about the Chengdu Hunters next week. And they have a couple players in their team who have not played competitive Overwatch in over a year. So
Jesus Christ.
We're
going to get down these and you're going to be like, Ben, it seems you're on one of these rosters. Did you?
To be fair, they were at one point competitive Overwatch players, and they did play, PUBG competitively.
That translates.
You shoot and stuff.
Talk to me when it's Fortnite, all right? PUBG's not getting those ninja numbers.
Right. So yeah, it's not like Hyunyo being signed here is not completely without precedent, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. So let's talk about our other support. How do you pronounce that one?
Gido.
Gido. All right, I was gonna go Gido. So just for the people keeping track at home, this is another just X.
Yeah,
Brian can't pronounce any of these. I'm really lucky. One of these people is named Corey. That's my one.
It's actually Corey.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, well, tell me about him. His signature players are Zenyatta and Tracer, and he is formerly of the Dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, he's like an average player on the Dynasty. They obviously didn't care enough about him to not let him get just snatched by a expansion team. And the Dynasty came into last season as kind of like one of the favorites, but they kind of fell apart and ended up in the bottom half of the season 1 teams. So he's like a mid-tier player on a mid-tier team.
Okay, that's where I thought you were going with that. It's like he is so average at everything.
And this is probably going to be their main support player for the Washington Justice. So that kind of gives you an idea of where this team is, at least in terms of their support players. We have one player who has experience in the Overwatch League, who's he's fine. He's not bad. Like he's
listen,
not,
he's okay.
Like, he played, he's seen competitive play. He's like he was a passable player. There's nothing bad about him that should have warranted him getting dropped from the league or anything.
Right.
But he's not like an exciting player. Like I wouldn't say Janus is a super exciting player, but Janus is like leagues more exciting than Gido. So.
All right, fair enough. So let's move on to Stratus. Is that how you pronounce this?
Yes.
That's what's up. He is an American DPS player. His main signature heroes are Pharah, Genji, and Tracer.
Yeah, he's mostly played a lot of Genji, I think. In the NRG tapes that I've seen, he also played a little bit of Brigida, but on NRG, it didn't seem like he was like a main starting player. He seemed to fill more of like a role player kind of position where he get brought in for maps that favored his hero pool and his his gameplay style. So I don't. Again, he's not a bad player, but he's not like an exciting player. He's not a star. He has like a pretty diverse hero pool available to him. He's probably gonna end up being the player who's going to be playing Brigida on this team.
It's not a popular thing at this point, I feel like.
By default, but yeah.
From everything I've seen online lately.
You know, assuming that Brigida is still going to see play.
Right, yeah. We should mention we're recording these in the early part of December, very far away from when the league actually starts. So who knows what the meta is going to be at that point.
So, some nerfs have been announced, so gonna have to go through that and try and figure out what the new meta is going to be in 2 months. Definitely necessary, but yeah, it's very. I
feel like the meta's in shambles right now.
Yeah, it's very unsure whether a goats comp is going to be the primary strategy going into the middle of February. So it's impossible to predict. But if Brigida sees play still, then Stratus is going to be most likely that person playing Brigida. But like I said, he's just kind of like an average role player. So.
Okay, fair enough. So let's move on to the final player that has league experience. This is Ado.
Ado, yeah.
Close enough?
Close enough, yeah.
Awesome.
He has experience playing for
the Shanghai Dragons.
The star team of last season.
Yeah, so his expansion team also has the same amount of wins as his former team.
Yep.
Going into the season, he is a South Korean player. He plays DPS, and his signature heroes are Genji and Tracer. Tell me about the Winless Wonder.
Yeah, I mean,
there were a
lot of when the Dragons did their house cleaning after their imperfect season, I would say.
I would say perfect season.
Yeah. There was a lot of people who were mad that he was dropped. He's probably the best player from that team that didn't get retained.
Right.
Now he was not the best player on it. He was the best player on the team that was not retained.
So I guess just for people who might be wondering, the expansion teams came in. How were they able to poach these players? Was there protection in place? How did it work for the teams?
A lot of business mumbo jumbo. But
okay.
So basically, I believe that the teams could pay contracts on existing players.
Mm-hmm.
And then on any free agents, the expansion teams basically had first dibs on any free agents.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in some other leagues, it'll be, it's really unique because there were so many expansion teams. But, in other times when there's one expansion team player, teams will be able to protect players, and then if you're not protected, they can get drafted away. So it's always interesting when leagues are kind of adding new teams, and it's really interesting for us because we're getting to see the birth of a whole new sports league, and that's fascinating to me, and I'm sure it is to you as well.
Yeah, no, it's very fascinating. I think that you could say recently in traditional sports like the Las Vegas and the NHL, and then kind of having to
Mm-hmm.
put together the pieces of all these kind of
Ragtag. Cast-offs.
Toys.
And they almost won it all.
Yeah, and they almost
their
won.
first year. So there is some hope for these teams.
Right.
We don't know how much hope, but there's some hope.
A lot of these teams, the expansion team, I'd say maybe 4 of these expansion teams kind of have this Island of Misfit Toys, pulling the pieces together feel to them, which makes sense because of the way that an expansion team is going to come into a league. They're going to have to kind of pick up the leftovers.
Right.
So.
All right, so we're getting a little off topic. You said he's probably the best player that wasn't retained. Do you think he can potentially carry this team to victory in any way, or is it kind of a hopeless situation for him?
If they're good, then he is definitely going to be a contributing factor to them being successful. I think that The coaching staff on the Justice is probably the best thing they have going for them.
Mm.
Wizard and Avala both have like a lot of experience coaching good teams, so we'll see how they do with kind of like a hodgepodge team, but,
Right.
Yeah.
So I get,
yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
All right, so let's move on to Sansam.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sansam.
Sam, yeah.
Oh, nailed it. Killing it. I only grow stronger as the list grows shorter.
Well, I think you went to all the hard names first, so.
Right. He's a South Korean tank. He has signature heroes of Diva and Zarya. Big shout out to Diva, my favorite hero, personally. Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, so this is kind of another situation where we have a player, like a mid-tier player from a mid-tier team. So he's coming from Meta Athena from the Korea Contenders League. And, like, it is Korea, so, like, Korea Contenders is obviously the most competitive Contenders League in the world. Like,
it's like AAA baseball.
Right.
To what the MLB is.
Yeah, but it's Korea, so like even
right.
like a mid-tier Korean team can be like comparable to like a higher tier team from another region. So he's from Meta Athena. Meta Athena were good-ish. They were like average to good in season 1 of this year, which was like early 2018, but have since basically collapsed and like fall out of contention. So he's coming from a team that's like in the process of falling apart right now, in my opinion. But he's
hopefully he's moving to greener pastures then.
We'll see.
Ben's like, no, I picked this as the worst expansion team, so probably not.
And probably the worst team overall. But yeah, he's probably gonna be okay, but the story of this team is basically like, yeah, they're probably a decent player, but like they're not exciting. They're not like a star. They're not really gonna carry anything. They're kind of just, you know, they at best like have potential, right? So a lot of these players are just going to be like, you know, mid-tier players who might have some potential, coming from kind of, you know, no name to like, you know, somewhat well-known organizations, and just kind of getting thrown into a situation where there doesn't seem to be a lot of cohesion. There's like a bunch of Korean players, there's some American players, there's a couple Chinese players, so like
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So rounding out this team is possibly my favorite name in the whole league. It's Corey, who has a DPS player with no signature heroes listed. It almost feels like they were like, oh shit, we have to fill out a roster. And then someone was like, oh, my friend Corey plays Overwatch. I'm like, fine, just put him on the team. Why not? Tell me about Corey, the American.
I actually think Corey's probably one of the better pickups they've made, honestly.
Despite the name, the uninspired name choice.
Yeah. He's a DPS player. He mostly does hitscan DPS, I believe. I saw him playing some Sombra, so that's like all the experience I have is watching. The only hero I've seen him play is Sombra. So
okay. It's his signature hero so far as Ben's concerned.
He's coming here from the Gladiators Legion, which is the Gladiators Contenders team.
They're developmental.
They're a development team. Yep. And he was okay on that team. I wouldn't say he was like the star of that team. Panker is probably the star of that team, and Blase as well, who is now on the Uprising. So those two are probably the stars of Gladiators in this last season, and Corey was kind of like the, you know, maybe the third most impressive player from that team, I would say.
All right. So is there anything else you'd like to add on any of these players?
I wish the Washington Justice luck. I hope they just I hope they surprise me.
Right. All right. On the line right now, had to pick who gets a win first: the Shanghai Dragons or the Washington Justice.
Oh yeah, I gotta check out their matchups. I think Shanghai probably gets a win first, but I don't know what their matchups look like.
All right.
Let me see if I can pull up some the schedule here.
All right. And when
What do you
Ben,
think?
I want the Shanghai Dragons to lose it all again. I want them to keep losing for years and then one day win every game and win the championship for a real Cinderella story. But they'll be like the Phillies and just never be able to go above 500 ever because they lost too many games,
Right.
despite being a constant contender. That's the Cinderella story I personally want. Well, Ben looks up the matchups. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you come around almost every day during the work week. We have stuff going on. We have streams, uploads. Ben, he's going to be playing more Hearthstone, other games. Maggie's always great on Twitch. And yeah, we're going to be here every Thursday with more Overwatch League reports. And then we have Let's Plays such as the show.io. There's just a lot of good stuff going on this channel, and we would love for you guys to stick around and check it out. Ben, have you found the matchups?
Oh yes, I have, and it's not looking good for the for the Washington Justice.
Oh, a heartbreak.
So the Shanghai Dragons day one will be playing the Hangzhou Spark,
Okay.
who are not. They're probably going to be like a mid to low tier team, so that's going to be like a toss up. I think that the Shanghai Dragons could pretty easily win that. Like there's like a world where they win that matchup day one. The Justice don't play their first match until day 3, and you want to take a guess against who their first matchup is against?
Did they put him against the Spitfire?
No, not the Spitfire.
Oh, that'd be so fucked up. The Fusion.
No, almost.
The Uprising.
No, not the Uprising.
What the hell? The Excelsior?
They are playing the New York Excelsior.
That's the storyline. If I had been thinking narratively with the coach and the former player, I would have gone there, but I thought they were just like rudely putting them against the defending champ.
I mean, the New York Excelsior might as well be the defending champs.
Rather, they were good last year. So that would definitely be something to keep an eye on.
Yep.
But for this episode, thank you guys so much for watching.